Welcome to Living in Bella Vista, the first ever virtual candidate forum. And thank you for being with us. Before I introduce the candidates, I want to remind everyone to hit that share button, share it with your friends and other Facebook pages. This event is being recorded in its entirety by LiBV TV and will be on the LiBV page later on tomorrow. I will introduce the candidates, then each will be given 2 minutes to introduce themselves. You can begin posting on the live feed those questions you have, and each candidate will have 2 to 3 minutes to answer. On my left is Joy SAWYER, and is John GOODMAN Jr., and Sandy FOSDICK. So we'll start with the introductions, and Joy SAWYER, go right ahead.
Hello, I'm Joy SAWYER. I have lived in Bella Vista for about 2.5 years now. I have been speaking publicly about things that I feel like we need to change or make better in Bella Vista for about 1.5 years. So I decided to run for the board. I am married. I have 1 son and 2 grandsons and 2 little fur babies.
Okay, John.
My name is John GOODMAN. I'm 41 years old. We moved up to Bella Vista April of last year. We have 3 boys. My wife and I have 3 boys, 8, 14, and 16. And we have a dog named Charlie. I have a technical background in IT, data analysis, project management, and the decision for me to run for the board was when my oldest son came up to me and said, you know, I love it here. I want to make sure I stay here. I want to be here for a long time. And so looking around and getting involved, talking to other people, I want to make sure that Bella Vista is a place that will welcome him now and 20 years down the road.
Okay, Sandy.
Hi, I'm Sandy FOSDICK. I started coming to Bella Vista on vacation in 1975 with my boyfriend's family who had purchased property here when it first was developed. And they subsequently retired here in Bella Vista, so we got to visit frequently. And then when they actually passed away was when we decided that life is short and we should move to Bella Vista now and not wait until we retire. So we were originally from Nebraska, graduated from the University of Nebraska with a degree in business management, and then worked in the corporate world, spearheaded many committees. Then had a chance to run my own business. I owned an American Family Insurance Agency, mastered the marketing and sales world, and now that we live in Arkansas, I manage risk for shelter insurance. Married to the same boyfriend that I met years ago for now 40 years, and we have 2 sons.
Okay. All right, everyone, just want to remind everybody to please hit the share button. If you have any questions at this time, start posting, and we'll ask the candidates. We do have one question from Beth Tracy. There seems to be a huge divide right now in our community, and we'd like to ask each one, how can you resolve this, or how do you see we could get this resolved? Joy?
I believe that we have to be honest and transparent about everything. Both sides, the challenges, what's good, what's going to be a challenge. And I believe we have to weigh those things because when you make a decision and you don't consider the challenges that are going to be involved, then you know that there are going to be people that then are going to challenge you on that. So I just feel like we have to, if we give everybody all of the information on both sides, then we open up a better, more honest conversation.
Okay, John? Same question.
So yes, and I actually received that question also earlier a few weeks back, and you know, bringing the community together is not going to be an easy task. because there's spatial differences. You know, we have half the membership lives here and half live other places, hence the unimproved and improved property owner situation. But we need to remember first and foremost that we are one community. We have one voice. We all want the same things. We all share the same amenities. So what one type of member, unimproved or improved, enjoys, the other does as well. And I think, as Joy said, transparency is key. We have got to do, as a board membership and leadership, a better job of listening to what our members say, getting out in front of them, showing the pros and cons to any decision that we make, because ultimately the decisions the board makes will go to the membership, and we need to make sure they are informed and make sure we have their best interest at heart.
Okay, thank you, John. And Sandy?
You know, in all situations, I always try to look for a win-win for everyone. And I think in a lot of cases, when you look at what the divide is, you'll find that a lot of times there's really not a division. Everybody technically wants the same thing. It's just that the difference may be a little bit in how we go about it. Like, for instance, hate to bring up the 2020 plan because I know it's still controversial, and I hate to call people yes people and no people, but there were a lot of people who voted no, but they wanted exactly the same thing that the yes people wanted. They want our financials corrected, they want our money spent wisely, and really the only difference there was a matter of, are we going to give them the money now, or are we going to make them fix the problems first and then give them the money? And so I think going forward, if we can always look for the Lou Holtz win-win situation, we're going to start bringing people together instead of dividing them.
Okay, thank you. All right, just want to remind everybody, please, if you have any questions, to go ahead and post your comments now. We've got another question for the candidates. What do you bring that is unique or useful to the board?
Well, I have, sorry, thanks. I have been a teacher. This is my 23rd year. I have worked in small districts and I've worked in larger districts. And I feel like I understand the political swing of things. The jobs that I had previous to becoming a teacher, there were some legal things that happened there that had to be taken care of. So I feel like I bring I'm reasonable, and I like to hear both sides of the story. I like to put the fluff aside and say, this is what we're talking about. This is the, this is the situation. This is the real problem, or the real, the meat of what we're talking about. And so let's take all the fluff out of it and look at what is really best. And in this case, it would be what is best for the membership as a whole, not just what's best for me, what's best for Mr. Goodman, what's best for Mr. Knifing, but what is best for the membership as a whole, and are we making the very best decision that we can for the membership?
Okay, John?
One of the things that I lean heavily on, and I've made it very public, that I am a very data-driven person. I do not like to make decisions based off emotions or based off feelings or based off anything other than what's a logical excuse or logical reasoning and path forward. Ask my wife, she hates that kind of stuff, but it's always seemed to work for us, and we do a fairly good job of it. I bring project management experience, working with multiple stakeholders, shareholders and companies, to work with them to see, the pros and cons of anything. Show them, here's what we can do with this path, here's what we can go with this path. Building infrastructure systems, you have to look at that. But very much so, I bring an analytical mindset to look at what will benefit the community as a whole. And one thing, for example, let's take any of our amenities per se. If we can go into and see what amenities are being used at specific times and what demographic is using them, and this can be done, guys. We have cards, all that is already being tracked. We can analyze that and determine where our financials need to be put in perspective or placed into, if we need to have that particular amenity, or maybe scale it back a little bit to save on cost of staff, maintenance, upkeep. All these things tie together. And so that's kind of what I want to see as a member of the board, is that the board utilizes some of this stuff to help make better decisions for the membership as a whole.
Okay, Sandy, go ahead.
Okay. Professionally, what I bring to the board is 43 years of risk management. I've worked in insurance 43 years, and it has always involved analyzing a situation, looking to see where we can reduce our losses, making sure that things don't happen that are going to cause us a problem. I understand where we stand now on the stump dump fire. I think I could lend a hand in reviewing some of that and in reviewing some of the insurance that we currently have. Again, I was a business owner, and so I can read financials, I understand them, I can look through them and determine where we may have problems, where we may not. From a personal standpoint, I bring a lot of heart. My family and I, we literally have a lifetime worth of great memories from Bella Vista, and we really want to see it continue as a beautiful community.
Okay, we got our first question posted here from Wade Swanton. He's asking, if able, will the new board bring the COO and employee salaries in line with the real world? Joy, you do that? Thank you, Wade.
Yeah. Hi, Wade. I see you on Facebook a lot. I think that we first have to make sure that those salaries are inflated. I know that we've seen a lot of things out on Facebook that say, you know, this is the national average for this job and this job. We really don't know, sitting on this side of the board table, what exactly those job descriptions are. So do we need to look at that? Yes. Do we need to evaluate whether or not those salaries are fair or inflated? Yes. I think that as board members, I know our school board members in my district come into school every single year and look to see what it is that we're doing in that school. So I feel like that's not a bad idea for the board members to go and look at those jobs specifically. What are their responsibilities? What are they doing? How many people are they managing? And then say, that we feel like this is inflated. We feel like this is not inflated. I don't think any of us can just sit here tonight and say, oh yeah, we're going to go in and cut salaries. We don't have enough information on this side of the boardroom to make that call. I certainly think that we can do, but I do think that because there's so much controversy over the salaries, that we definitely could say that we want to look into that a little more closely.
Okay, John?
That's actually what I was going to say in a nutshell. So Joy's absolutely right. The people on this side of the board have no clue. We've not been given the job description. We know nothing of the details exactly of what each one of those positions hold. I will say that the handbook that every candidate was given did say that we are to hold the position, the COO position, accountable. And since he does, all those other managers roll up to him, that would be a good starting point. Again, not to say go in there and wipe or reduce. That's not what we're saying at all, not what I'm saying at all, and it's not what Joyce said. We need to first understand what those are, what the details are, what the duties are, what that entails. And then one thing that I would love to see brought into Bella Vista, and every corporate person knows this, every employee knows it, come evaluation time, you have a review. You have key metrics that you are given. Let's say, for example, restaurant industry. Just an example, guys. You need to bring in 20% more revenue year over year. Okay, that's a key metric. That's something that has to be met. So in the event that whoever's running the restaurants goes above and beyond that, merits value given to him as an employee, give merit as a manager, as an overseer of that. But on the flip side, if that employee does not meet those key metrics, then we have to look at, looking at there's no bonus or no raise or whatever, a lower percentage of B. And if it continually needs to happen, then we look at doing, something different and creative. But we don't yet see the duties. We don't have responsibility of the duties. And per the board handbook, we are not allowed to be involved. But I can assure you from my standpoint, we are allowed to be involved in the budget. And that will be something that will be highly looked at when it's time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that if you look at Bella Vista's financials and look at them from, say, 2014 until now, what you're going to see is we have had a huge increase in our payroll expense. And I think we need to look at that. I know when I worked at State Farm, we had each department, we had a department manager, a superintendent, a supervisor, and workers. And when we needed to cut back on our expenses, unfortunately, we had to cut some positions. I don't know whether that's what we have to do or want to do here in Bella Vista, but I think it needs to be looked at very strongly. And I'm not an expert on setting payroll rates. I used to have employees. I know what I paid my employees at my insurance agency, but for a club manager, I'm not an expert. I did ask an expert, and what I was told was you frequently have to pay club managers a high amount because they know that their time at any one club is very limited. And so people lose confidence in them, situations change, and so they demand a higher salary. So I don't know. And personally, I think more importantly is having the right person in the right job at the right time. We have switched back to what we should have always been, more of a private community, and we need to have a general manager who understands what it means for our amenities to be private. So I think that's really important. And, as John and Joy alluded to, the board only has one employee, and that is the general manager. The only other control that the board has is over the entire budget. So, it's not like we can go in and say, this person should be paid this person should be paid that. So, just so that we understand what the board's job is and ability. But thank you for the question, Wade.
All right, thank you, Cindy. Okay, the next question, this time we're going to start with John and work on down, but there's a question on here from Mary Sinkus. Mary is a current board director, and she asked, where are the other three candidates? Well, Living in Bella Vista has chosen this three, just like the Lake Committee chair chose the other three. So I hope that answers your question, Mary. Another question we have, who are the directors responsible to? John, do you want to give that?
In my honest opinion, the directors of the Bella Vista POA board is responsible to the membership. We are elected by the membership. We are put in place by the membership to make sure that everything dealing with the POA business is done with a membership aspect in first place. We need to make sure we make decisions for the membership on amenities, on any kind of things going on where our money goes, on how it's spent. Any aspect that we should have our hands in is solely, in my opinion, for the membership's benefit. And we should never lose sight of that.
All right, thank you, John. Sandy?
Yeah, I agree. If you look at any of the old annual statements from the POA, there's an organizational chart. And at the very top of that organizational chart are the members. And so I am a member of many Facebook groups because I like to hear, I'm not a troll, but I like to hear what all the people in Bella Vista are are saying about Bella Vista and what they like and what they dislike, so that we can then be their voice. And that's what I've tried to do for the last couple of years, is listen to what people have been saying. And I've tried to go to board meetings, I've gone to city council meetings, and tried to represent the members. So yeah, I understand that we represent the members.
All right, thanks, Cindy. Joy?
I agree, obviously, with John and Sandy. I think as in any elected position, the people who are elected are responsible to the people who elected them. And you're not just responsible to the person who said, I want Joy Sawyer to be on the board, but I'm also responsible to the person who didn't choose to vote for me. I'm still there representing all members. And I just feel like that's what our board of directors is called to do. And I believe that, the membership should be heard for any question. I want to encourage people to come to those board meetings and say what you need to say and send emails, and the board can't be effective if it's not hearing from the members on both sides.
Okay, thank you, Joy. Okay, we've got a few questions pouring in. I just asked that Rick McInnes, you didn't finish all of your sentence. If you would finish that out, that'd be great. Michael McCracken has a great question for all of you, and this time we'll start with Sandy. Okay, it seems that the POA board of directors has morphed into a board of followers. The board has gone from directing the direction we are going with the amenities to following what outside entities and our GM think our amenities should be. Do you see the board becoming more proactive and take an active role in directing our amenities and how our money is spent?
I definitely believe that the board should take control of the board meetings. I don't know how many times I've sat in there and was very surprised at the parliamentary procedure fails that I had seen. It just seems as if, I don't think that Colonel Roberts, when he devised the Robert Rules of Order, that we should go into a boardroom and discuss things and have a conversation and then take it out amongst the other members of an organization and just vote on it without the members hearing what's been done. At least the way that the board meetings have been run recently, it just appears as if the board is just following along with what the general manager has told them to do. Many times you will see them just looking to him for direction, and I don't know. The board has to answer for their decisions, so I think they need to be more involved.
Okay, Joy?
Hi, Michael. I think that the board there are 9 board members and 1 general manager. And I believe that from what I've read, the way that this is supposed to be done is that the board employs the general manager. He is the board's one employee. So I absolutely believe that the directors are just that. They are there to direct the path of Bella Vista. So we should have private amenities. We should have all of these things that that we're all talking about all the time, it seems. Even when you just run into people in the grocery store, people have an idea of what they feel like the POA board should be doing. But what the POA board should be doing is directing. That's their job. They are 9 people who have 1 employee and a budget to deal with. So I feel like, yes, the board of directors should be directing.
Okay, John?
Thanks, Mike, for your question. In the handbook that each candidate was given, there is a couple paragraphs in there that say that the board of directors is to hand over to the GM or COO a clear and concise direction, as Joy mentioned. And then later on in the handbook, it does say that the board of directors is to hold him strictly accountable, or her strictly accountable to that said direction. And so that needs to be happening. It's in writing. It was revised last year, and that needs to be our staple. We need to do that. Another thing that I would love to see happen here is we have one board meeting a month. 1 hour, sometimes two, give or take the topics. I would love to see a way, and in the technology world that we live in, there is absolutely no way that we should not be listening to our members more often. There should be a platform out there that members can come on and vote and ask questions. Emails do exist, but they get lost or read incorrectly. There is no reason why the directors should not hear more from what our membership wants, and then give that to the person in charge and hold him or her accountable to whether or not that was done, and maybe keep tabs on the process going forward. But ultimately, we are to give a roadmap to the person in charge and then hold that person accountable. And yes, it's in writing. It needs to go back to that.
All right. I just want to thank Sue McEvoy. I might have pronounced that wrong. Sorry, Sue, but they told us to speak up. We can't always judge that, and I'm glad somebody's out there watching that. So thank you, Sue. Okay, the next question comes from, we'll go with Rick McInnes. He has a second one. What will you do to ensure we do not have a repeat of this last election process? It seemed completely illegal to me. Let's start with Sandy.
Okay, well, before we had these last two elections, what I recommended to the board was that they go through and cut the budget, because I heard numerous people saying if they did this, if they did that, if they did this, they would vote yes. And so there were a lot of people also saying that they were voting yes because they support the community and they want to continue to support the community. And I just think that, number one, you have to not only listen to what people are saying, but you need to hear what they are saying. And you need to devise a plan that you're pretty sure that people are agreeing with before you spend the $40,000 and take it out for a vote. So, first of all, I think you need to listen to people and determine, when the best time is to go forth for a vote. I just think they rushed both of them.
Okay, Joy.
Rick, I think the best way to make sure that something like that never happens again is to just not vote for it. We had 2 board members vote against that second vote, and that was not enough to carry the vote. So, I would just vote against it. And I think, like many people, I've had so many people tell me I was going to vote for the 2020 plan, and now I'm not going to vote for the 2020 plan because I don't like the way that this was done. And I've really had a lot of people tell me that. So I feel like when things like that come up, and if we don't feel that they're ethical, we have to stand up for that and stand up for the members and say, this isn't right, I'm going to vote against it, and and hope that the majority votes with us.
Okay, good. John?
That's a great question. And at the risk of sounding very rude, I don't want to sound rude, but as Joy said, the reason that second vote happened was because the board voted for it. I mean, let's just be honest, call it what it is. Anyone can go back and watch the board minutes, and the board voted. There were 2 people voted no. So the first thing I would say to Rick and anyone else out there watching is make sure you have board members who are hearing your voice, so that when this thing comes up again, you have membership and you have leadership who will vote no. That says, you know, we need to spend some more time digging into it. We need to spend some more time crunching the numbers. Or heaven forbid, come up with a different solution that's not so black and white. But the bottom line, Rick, is there were a majority of board members who wanted this to happen and made it happen. So if we don't want that to happen again, elect new board members who will listen and hear the voice of the membership and keep this from happening.
Very good. Okay, William Barr says he's having a hard time hearing. I could believe that. Okay, now we're going to go on to the next question from Bob Decker. And Bob asked, when I moved here a few years ago, we were financially sound. Now we are broke. What happened to the reserves? Joy?
Bob, did you say
Yeah,
this
Bob.
is Bob? Okay. Bob, I've been here 2.5 years, and my understanding of what happened was that our reserves were spent to update the amenities, the pools, the parks, you know, all of the different amenities that we have. So that we added, we added the beach, the beach was added, Lake Point, the Bella Vista Bar and Grill, the pools, everything was updated. And on this side of the board table, that is what we are told, and that is the only information that we have. We know that salaries have gone up exponentially over the last few years, but to be able to tell you specifically, we have asked that question, and the answer that we get is that the amenities were really out of date. They needed to be updated. So we spent, a whole bunch of money was spent, all in a very short period of time to fix up all of these amenities that we had. And that's, and of course the salary changes, and that's all that we really know without being on the other side of that board table and maybe even in the room during the secret meetings. That's all that we know.
Okay, John, did you want me to repeat that question?
No,
okay.
I got it. Again, good question. And coming in just next week will be 1 full year in Bella Vista. I've seen Lake Point; it's gorgeous. I've seen the country club; it's beautiful. And kudos. Those were good things to spend money on. They're beautiful things. I mean, I'm not going to lie. The beach, my family loves the beach. There's no beach around here, so it's the closest thing we have. It's great. But like Joy said, she said something very key there that was the root of all of this. A lot of money was spent in a short amount of time. There's no reason why any of these projects could not have been drawn out a little bit or programmatically funded money into. Doing them all at once was a definite drain on our reserves. As far as I know, what she stated off was what was done was the clubhouse, the Lake Point, the beach, and maybe a couple of others. I'm sure, greens maintenance and stuff, whatever. I don't know of anything else big that came out of that, but it could have been done different. It could have been done, incrementally over time and not just at a big bang. And then again, she mentioned of the salaries and stuff going up so fast. That's another thing metrics would put in place, a prevention for doing that. You have to meet a key indicator to get those. Same with the cost of money going into these amenities. If, let's say, for example, Lake Point didn't justify spending the money, then we look somewhere to spend the money, or we do it at a slower pace. So one thing I want to do on a board member, and I think these ladies agree, is to really lean on the financials and then look into why, where, how, and are we doing the right thing for our members? Because we don't want an emergency to happen to where we're out thousands or millions of dollars and not have it to cover that. So that's one thing I can say that we will probably look at very heavily doing.
Okay, Sandy?
Yeah, I think as you both mentioned, I've dug into the Bella Vista financials. We did at one point in time have $14 million in reserves. And oh, how I miss those investment returns that we got. At one point it was $880,000. Now, that being said, I agree that money should have spent to update our amenities. About $11 million was spent to update the amenities. $2.7 million was spent to purchase some land that Cooper owned. There were some parcels of land that Cooper saved for themselves, and it just didn't make sense for us to not go ahead and purchase those, so I'm okay with that. And then you have to remember that we're facing the stump dump fire. We've lost $2 million in assets if you look at our balance sheet. We were forced to sell the Moark property. We've borrowed $3 million from the water department now. So we're not only, you know, a lot of times I think it's kind of funny because the current board likes to say, well, we're not broke. You know, our water department's got $1.7 million. Well, yeah, that's true. And oh, it's okay that we owe the water department $3 million because we're paying interest to ourselves. Well, we still have a mess here. And it's got to be dealt with. And I know with the 2020 plan, we're putting a little bit of money away. $1 per improved lot, per month, per year. That's not a lot. And, you know, time will tell how we come out with the stump dump. I can talk about that because I'm not on the board yet. So I'm just here to remind you that that's something that we face as directors. And I can tell you, I can see a lot of defenses that the insurance company is going to put up in this board of directors fight, and I can tell you, you know, we're also facing residents who are going to fight with that. So, you know, I'm not opposed to keeping our amenities up. I love them. However, the board should have kept at least, let's just say, 10% in reserves. I do not understand. Unless their objective is to break us, then I do not understand why they spent all of our money, and it makes me mad, and that's why I'm here today.
I have one quick question. This is Joy over here. But Sandy, you've done so much of digging into the financials. How do you feel? I'm not on Facebook, but I'm just going to throw this in.
Go ahead.
You said we currently have $1.7 million at the water, or whatever it is?
Yeah, I don't know. We borrowed a little more now. It was,
okay.
We did owe 2.7. Now we've borrowed a little more, so I don't even know where the water department stands.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It seems to me that if we have those kinds of overages in the water department, that we would be able to cut members' water bills a little bit if we're just, you know, continually coming up with those kind of overages. It seems to me like we could do a little better job.
Yeah, I agree.
On providing water service.
Sure, I agree.
Okay, the questions are starting to roll in, but I'm getting hit privately with some questions on the trails.
Ah!
I know everybody wants to know about the trails. I'm glad you guys are posting the questions. I'll try to get to each one. Can't promise I'll make it, but just keep throwing those questions there so we can have something to go through. On the trails, why don't you just give your overall opinion of the trails? I think that would be best. Let everybody hear, but because it's such a divisive issue with some people, I think they would appreciate just hearing your stand on it. So I think, who did we start with last time? Oh, go with John now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the trails, I got 2 of them behind my house. I watch people enjoy them all day long when the weather's nice. I see bikes, I see people, I see dogs, families out there. I mean, they are very nice. I've not spent much time on them. My kids have, so they definitely say it's really neat to have that network of trail systems throughout Bella Vista. And I mean, a couple board meetings ago, a guy stood up and said that it helped him quit smoking, and he would walk them and realize that he would get out of breath, so he cut back on his smoking and walked longer and longer, and even became an advocate to cleaning them up. So I mean, it's really great to have them. I will say I am not against them. I think they offer an exercise. I think they offer an escape from what we face day to day to get out in nature. They're amazing. I do wish that before any more trails were to go in, that we look at some things. Look at some things about how close they are to people's homes, or if they're cutting through a golf course or things like that, just so that we can make sure we keep our privacy, our membership's focus safe and secure, while also giving an outlet for bikes or walkers or whatever to go and explore the trails on their own. So I'm neutral in them. I just like a little more care taken when we place them or when they are placed.
John, let me throw something out, and each of the other two can answer this too, along with their question. But a lot of people say, hey, they ought to be a sticker on their bikes. Ought to be making a little bit of money off of them. I know there's that the so-called lawyer says that we can't do that because it's because of insurance or something. But what's your take on like being able to charge people parking, stickers on bikes, something to where members could get something for the money?
Or do I finish? Or
yeah, you go ahead.
So yeah, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, there is a recreational law in Arkansas that says we can't per se charge for that area, because then if anyone gets hurt or damaged or something happens that makes the POA liable for that. So I don't know on that one. I've talked with other people, and I think the parking thing is a fantastic idea. I think that if we had designated parking to where you swiped your card or paid a specific guest fee, however that ends up coming out, that allows them to park there. And then from there they can walk, they can bike, they can hike, they can do whatever they want to. But I agree with, I would love to see an aspect of revenue come into the trails. I just don't think at this point in time it's so black and white that we can jump right in and put that in motion. But I'd like to see that looked at, investigated, and talked about a little bit more.
Yeah, very good, John. Thank you. Sandy?
I do love hiking. I usually go to Colorado to do it, but I have hiked at Tanyard Creek, and I do prefer hiking at a public national park. I do not like the way that the trails were brought in. I think that, 101 in enforcing change is you need to give the information to the people, and I just don't feel that the residents had the information, and I don't think that the residents were explained why this was being done. I understand that our city has a small commercial tax base, and we need to find a way to bring more revenue into Bella Vista, but I just don't like the way that this was done. And in regard to the parking and the revenue and whatnot, I have access to insurance litigators, and I have asked a couple, and I've gotten the same answer twice in regard to parking. There is absolutely no reason why we, the POA, couldn't have retained the possession of all these trailheads that we have just given up, and we could have very easily insured them as public parking lots, and we could have very easily charged for parking. I go to Colorado every summer and do wildfire mitigation. I go to a town called Manitou Springs. It's illegal to park on the streets in Manitou Springs. The residents can park in front of their house, but other than that you can't, because they have a big problem. They have tourists who come there, want to hike up in the hills. So when I go there, I have to go to City Hall. I pay $25 a day to park in Manitou Springs. Why are we not taking advantage of this revenue? Why isn't the POA keeping these lots, charging for parking? We can put a disclaimer on the parking ticket that says, we're not responsible for damage to your car. We're not responsible for your injuries on the trail. We're covered. I'll bet it wouldn't raise our insurance rates hardly anything, because it's a public lot and we already have them. And I am a firm believer in users pay. Golfers pay. I know people think that $33 isn't enough, but $33 a round is still plenty for golfers to pay. Boaters pay. I just paid $628 to tag my boats on a lake. I live on Loch Lomond. I paid for tags for my own boats to put it on the lake that I live on. Users should pay. So, I think that every resident in Bella Vista that wants to park in those lots could get a $20 parking pass a year. It's not much, but that goes along with bringing the community together. Golfers are mad because bikers aren't paying. And lake people are mad because bikers aren't paying. So while I agree we can't charge them to use the trails because that was part of the contract, I still firmly believe that there is a revenue stream that we're giving away. And I'd like to know who's negotiating for the POA.
All right, thank you, Sandy. Joy?
Well, I'm going to go to Steve's first question first, my opinions of the trails. I like the trails. I think that they look nice. And as a kid, my cousins and I blazed trails. We were the North Central Arkansas trailblazers, if you will. We rode miles and miles and miles of trails. So I get that aspect of it. It's not the trails that I'm opposed to. I did not live here when the back 40 went in, and I heard, well, we had all these meetings and we did all the, all this. We told the membership all about them. We did all this, and then the back 40 went in. And then when they said, okay, now we're going to do the second set of trails, people were upset because what we learned doing the back 40 trails were the unintended consequences of people losing their privacy, people not wanting those trails right behind their yard, people, so we found out some things. And once we knew those things, then why wouldn't we want to have a vote on the second part of the trails now that we know what the trails are, what they entail, where they're going to go? It just seems to me like it would have been a lot more, and I've asked this question in public, why not have a vote now? And because I think that it would, I do feel like it would pass. But at least there would have been a vote. And the POA could say this is what the community wanted. The majority of the community wanted this. And so, and then as far as paying for parking and those kinds of things, I have personally said that when you pick up your Bella Vista membership card, you get a sticker for your car that says you're a Bella Vista homeowner or lot owner, whatever you are. And that comes with your assessment fees. That's part of what you get. And then let everybody else buy a parking pass, or like in downtown Little Rock, they have the big things that, you pay $2 to park or whatever, and it's kind of an honor system. Somebody goes by ever so often during the day and, empties all that out. But at least I feel like that the people who came here, who were guests, who are parking in a paid parking lot, they would stick their $2, $4, $3, $5, whatever per day to park on that lot in those slots. And then they don't, if they want to buy a $25 pass because they're here every weekend and that makes more sense, great. But if they're just coming up here for a day or maybe 2 days, they just want to pop $2 in that little box, then that makes sense too. And I do feel like there are ways that we should have been able to help pay for the maintenance of these trails that would have helped the POA and the city. And so, real quick, I'm going to end it with, the city seems to get money when we have races here. They get a portion of the proceeds or whatever. And I feel like that money that is given to the city should go into the maintenance fund. And that money gets spent before the city or the POA, either one, pay any maintenance. That money, if it's $5,000, it goes in, and all of that money is spent before any public entity pays anything.
Okay, real good. Chuck Yarbrough, hope I see your question, and I think they may have answered most of that. If not, just give me a little bit more detail on a new comment, and I'll be glad to ask. Okay. Rick McInnes asked, and I've heard this a lot of times, after you three are elected, What will you do at your swear-in day when you will be marched into the back room and asked or persuaded to agree to a confidentiality agreement while you will be elected on a more open communications? Or will you be elected on a more open communication, I guess?
Okay,
There's talk. I mean, there's always been talk that
Right.
yeah,
take you to a back room
Right.
and there's a secret agreement.
right. Do you want me or Sandy to
Guess,
answer that first?
Sandy, you go ahead
Okay.
and start with that
Okay.
first.
Yeah, well, obviously, we will initially be required to keep things confidential because that's the way the board has been operating at this time. And I have no intention of telling people things that we shouldn't. However, when I was an insurance agent, I did win the J.D. Powers Distinguished Agency Award. And one of the reasons why I did that was because I never sold insurance to any of my insureds. I let them buy it. And the way that they bought it was we discussed the issues. What they owned, whether they wanted to retain that risk and not insure it, whether they wanted to transfer it to me and I would insure it for them, or whether they wanted to do A, B, or C and reduce the amount of money it would cost for me to insure that for them. And I would give them information is what I'm trying to say. And then I would allow them to choose and decide which way they wanted to go. And I think that's the biggest problem that our board has right now is that they go into these back rooms, they discuss all these things, and then they come out in front of the members, who they're supposed to be responsible to, and they just take a vote. And we, the members, are not getting that education as to why they're making the decision that they're making. Had the city and the POA board come out to the members and said, hey, this is the issue we have. This is the way we want to fix it. Do you want to do it that way? Then we could have put input in. Instead, they used a survey. I even filled that survey out. It said, would you like a bike trail? I said, sure. What I thought they meant was a concrete path going down Highway 71, and that's not what we got. Just the same as I said, yeah, I'd like to have a community center. Well, I didn't say I wanted to borrow $14 million to build one, but I did say I'd like to have a community center. Anyway, my whole point is people need to have the information and they need to see how the decision process is made. And so I am for a more public discussion of issues. And we should know how each board member thinks on each one. And it's healthy to have a professional discussion on issues. That's the way you generate good ideas and you come out with a better outcome.
Okay, Joy.
Good question, Rick. I guess what I would have to say is that I'll sign it. I appreciate your confidence in our campaigns, by the way. I feel like there are things that we will have to keep confidential. And at least from this side, I feel like those closed door meetings should be for personnel issues. And if there's some other, legal thing that needs to be handled. But like Sandy, I feel like otherwise the door should be open. If you vote for me, then you deserve to see that I am doing what I said I would do, that I'm fighting for the membership to be heard. That's what I believe. So I have been told, another candidate who has now dropped out was told that there is no back room form to sign once you are elected, that there's nothing you have to sign. And maybe that's just a big rumor, Rick, and we're not really going to have to sign anything behind closed doors. Maybe. But if we do, to take my seat at that board table so that I can do what I said I would do and fight for members, I'll sign it. And then because we can make change once we're there.
Okay, real good. Thank you, Joy. John?
Yeah, I agree with Joy. When I first received my board candidate packet, I read that thing probably 15 times. That's an exaggeration, but I read it a lot.
Slow learn.
Yeah, had to get it in there. And one of the things, because I'd heard that also, I heard that you signed an NDA to, hold private everything that was discussed outside of the publicized board meetings, and I couldn't find it. I could not find anywhere in that packet that you had to sign that. Now, that doesn't mean that it didn't exist, and it doesn't mean that it does exist. It just means that, we are supposed to use our best judgment and make good choices when we talk about what we discuss or things like that. I will say this, that I'm a very big proponent of transparency, and what I mean by that is, if anyone, not just us three, but if anyone is put in a position by the election of a membership, they are accountable to that membership, and that membership put them there to make decisions. There are very few decisions that should be not publicized, personnel being probably the only one. Everything else, budget, everything else that we do, decisions we make, we should have membership input on, and they should know how and where we stand.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, one thing we haven't talked about, that's golf. So let's see who we starting with this time. Is it John?
Sure.
Me.
John.
Okay.
Let's start with John. Okay, the golf courses. How many do we need? Do we keep them all? What if we had to close? I know you guys have been inundated with people. You've talked to people. People have talked to you about the golf courses. So maybe you could just tell us your feelings on that from other discussions you've had, and just share it with the audience.
Sure. So I made it a point to go down to the golf expo that was here last month, I think. Met some golfers, and one of the first questions they asked me was, "What do you play on? Well, are you a big golfer?" And sadly, I'm not. There's no excuse not to be. I have a couple sets of clubs. We have Brittany that's free now, and so I want to get out there and do that. But I'm going to lean on my, a very eye-opening experience. I met a golfer, and we were talking, and this person said, "How do you feel about the potential closing of a golf course, or do we have enough?" And I'm going to go back to where I stand, and if the data says we have enough, then we have enough. If we have foot traffic coming in and we have a decent revenue stream minus the maintenance costs, then I'd say we do. But something this golfer really surprised me was they said, "I think we have too many." Now, this was a member of the golfing community. So it's very clear that the concept and the idea around this decision, Steve, or this discussion is still very two-sided. Do we have enough? Do we have too many? And all I can say is, like the amenities I mentioned earlier, I want to use data to help me make a decision to say, we have, 6 golf courses? 6 golf courses?
6
Yeah.
or 7,
6
depending
or
on the
7.
day of the week. When
Right,
Birchdale opens back
6 and
up,
a half.
it'll be 7.
Okay. So,
It's not open yet.
if we have that many golf courses and consistently we see a negative number or a very low number of revenue coming in from one of those, do we have too many? I mean, it's really come down to looking at what's happening at those courses, who's using them, and things like that. So I hope that answers that question a little bit better on my side.
I personally like to call golf the forgotten revenue stream that for the past 4 years has totally gone by the wayside. I told a city council member, "Hey, why doesn't the city advertise golf? It generates sales tax revenue. We need sales tax revenue. We're going to be in a bad sales tax position come the next few years. We've lost sales tax because people have canceled their cable. We're getting a lot of sales tax because people are buying things online, and this past year we're now charging for internet sales. That's great. We're going to lose a lot of tax revenue. I was going to say kickbacks. It's not a kickback. It's the Benton County taxes that we get. Our portion is going to be reduced because other cities have grown much, much faster than Bella Vista has. We've grown 272 houses last year. Centerton put in 3 subdivisions my husband helped with. They've got 300 houses in just those subdivisions. So we are going to be hurting for tax. Why aren't we pushing golf is what I'd like to know. And anyway, the city council member said to me, well, the city doesn't advertise. So I just left it at that. Well, then I happened to find this thing called Discover Bella Vista. It's actually a city promotional marketing committee is what it's called. And lo and behold, our COO is on the board of that. Now, I went to their Facebook page and I went all the way back to July of 2018. There's not one single golf ad on that. It's trails, 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 Gazanos, trails, 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 JJ's. Not one single golf ad, and I would like to know why. So, you know, you asked whether we have too many golf. We paid $25,000 a few years ago to have a study done, and we haven't done anything with the information. It says we need 4 golf courses. I don't know what we're going to do. I'm still crying in my beer because they closed Branchwood, and that was my favorite golf course. It was like going on a hike and golfing at the same time. And with the change in demographics, it'd have been the cat's meow, I'm telling you. So I don't know where we're going with our golf. I personally had almost stopped playing completely because the rate had just gotten too high. I'm very pleased with the $33. I think we're going to see a lot more rounds played by people like myself who don't buy an annual membership. I pay per round. And I'm going to put it on the golfers that don't want to close any golf courses. You're going to have to grab your buddies and grab your friends and get them out there and increase those rounds. The POA needs the money. The city needs the money. We do it. Everybody's going to be happy. So that's my take on it.
All right, Joy?
I think that the golf courses are beautiful. I've always had golf courses where I lived. I do think that people who live on the golf courses have a concern about one being closed because it would be like drying up a lake. Your property value is connected to that golf course. And so I understand that. I also grew up in a community of 2,000 people where we had 2 golf courses, and that didn't seem to be too many for 2,000 people. So I'm not sure. Can they be run more efficiently? Maybe. Are there some things, you know, that we can do to get more people on the golf course? Advertising would be one. Offering, you know, where you could buy 10 rounds at one time and get a discount for doing that. Are there some other things that we can do to promote golf? Absolutely. And I feel like until we have done those things, we shouldn't talk about closing golf courses. I do think that we can be more data driven in how we look at that. But I feel like I like the golf courses. I like to go out and where I can't walk necessarily on trails that have a lot of hills and, you know, ups and downs and things like mountain biking trails would. I can walk on a golf cart path. So those are some things that I can't play golf myself, but I respect all of those who do. Bella Vista was, you know, founded with golf as their, you know, the big amenity. So can we run them more efficiently? Maybe. We won't know that until we get on the other side of that table and look at and can look exactly at that budget and see what's going on. But I do feel like golf is important, and if you live on a golf course, you don't want yours to be the one that closes. So, but I think you've got to speak up. You know, the trail, the people that are for the trails, they speak up. The people that wanted, you know, that wanted the amenities to be all inclusive and privatized again, they spoke up. And I feel like if the golfers want to keep the golf courses, then you've got to speak up and you've got to step up and get out there and play.
Okay, we're gonna go through and get a final word from each, but first I just want to thank everybody for coming on. I noticed people got on kind of late, so we were slow getting questions, so next time we do this, we'll definitely be planning a little bit better. I appreciate all your questions. I can't get to everybody. And just again, living in Bella Vista, felt these 3 candidates were the best choices. I mean, if you want to go back to the old way, then you bring in the other 3 that are not sitting here, and you'll get what you get. But with these 3, we felt like they were member driven, and I think that's what everybody wants. If you have any questions, additional questions, you guys have their emails, or you can get their emails, shoot them an email, they'll be glad to answer you. So we'll finish up now and just have everybody give a final word, something you want to say to the membership for your support, and we'll start with Joy, I think.
Okay.
Go ahead, Joy.
I want to say that the question has been asked to each of us, are we tied to any particular group? I want to first thank Steve for supporting us, but I want every single person out there to know that he doesn't own us. And we will work for the membership, and as with anything else, I'm sure we're going to make some decisions he's not going to like. And he may beat us up on Facebook for that, and that's okay. I just think that I don't want anybody to think, and I don't think anybody here does, that we are tied to a specific group of people, because the specific group of people that we represent are the members. And we want to represent every opinion out there. We know that your opinions are important, they're valid. You certainly have a right to them, and you have a right for us to hear them. And then you also have the right to get transparent, honest responses from your board that are not talked in circles, that when we answer, you feel like you've had an answer. We haven't gone in a circle around and said, well, yeah, yeah. You feel like, okay, that question asked, answered, move on. We really, really believe, all 3 of us really believe, that the membership needs to be better understood, better heard, and that's what we're here for tonight.
Okay, thank you, Joy. John?
Yeah, I also want to thank Steve for having us on. I'm very strictly tied to a single group. That's the membership, my choice.
Good one.
Someone asked me where my loyalties lie, and they started naming off a bunch of groups, and I was like, the members, because that's where we need to be aligned with. So one of the things I just want to say to everyone watching, or who will watch, is that you're going to hear a lot of stuff. You're going to hear a lot of flack and questions and things, and back and forth for yes, no vote, trails, no trails. You're going to hear a lot of that out there. My only advice and guidance is to be informed. Get out there and look. Every one of us has posted on Facebook. We've answered questions. Our emails are out there. Our phone numbers are out there. Call us, email us. And this just doesn't go for these 3. It goes for the other candidates as well. Know who is running. Number 1, know who is running so that you can cast your vote to what's best for Bella Vista. Not who's going to make your golf team, or not who's going to make the group a better person or a better group. Make sure that this community stays a community. Keep it here. Keep the focus to our membership. Vote that person who's going to make that happen. And I think with what you see here, or what you've heard, I think you know who that's going to be. So thank you for watching, and cast your vote according to your convictions.
Thank you, John. Sandy?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Steve. Thanks for inviting us to have a chance to explain our platform. I've spent the last couple of years going to meetings and doing research, and I've listened to what members have said, and I've tried to speak for members, and that's what I hope to continue to do. So you know, people told me, hey, I heard you at the board meeting the other day. I don't remember what you said, but I remember I agreed with what you said. And so I think I'm hearing what people are saying. And somebody asked me one time, who told you that Bella Vista was private? And I just want to say to you, that I never knew it wasn't private. So, oh shoot.
Okay.
Just a little levity.
All right. Well, again, thank everybody for joining in. This you can be able to watch this again tomorrow. We'll have a tape of it for you on 2 channels. You can spread it around. Anyway, if you have any questions, comments for me, you know where to catch me. Thank you again. Have a great night.